done, then we can start diving in, to do the full. I didn't want to start promoting stuff big time until we have that third piece of the trilogy done.
Okay. All right. So, and then will that close out that series?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you should be building your email list now so that you can make money on that third book. So, shame. Linda, what are you looking for? You're already doing everything I'm doing.
I don't know. I mean, I need some ideas about how to grow my mailing list some more, because I haven't done anything in that. I haven't done any of that for over a year.
Oh, okay. Cool.
And basically, I'm just looking for new ideas because I want to do something different next year, but I don't know what.
Okay.
Particularly, I think I'm going to write some blog posts that are more aimed at writers.
Oh, okay.
And just stuff, but I don't know what I'm going to do with any of it. So.
Okay. How about Tony? What are you looking to do?
I don't know, anything.
All right. Sounds good. Roland, you joined. What are you looking to do with newsletters?
Ooh, newsletters. Well, I've never had one. I've never submitted to one. So anything I do would be new with newsletters.
Okay. All right, cool.
I am subscribed to a couple. I think Linda's and Susan's.
That's it. Make sure you unsubscribe from mine. You'll be dead weight on mine.
Yeah, about
it. Sierra, tell me that your love for SendFox is ever flowing now.
Oh, God. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, I hate SendFox. I'm going back to MailerLite.
Oh, gross.
It's so much easier for me.
What are you trying to do with newsletters? What's your goal right now?
I need to figure out a lot with them. Yeah, I need to call my list. I need to figure out how to get new. Oh, can you hear me?
Yep, absolutely. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Sorry. And just get new subscribers. That's all.
Okay. All right, cool. Awesome. Well, what we'll do is we'll go ahead and get started. We got a shorter group here, so maybe what I'll do is I'll bypass stuff that I know everybody kind of knows, but maybe I'll just touch on a few things. There's a lot of show and tell here today, and I will record. I am recording this whole thing. If my audio is coming across good, or there's issues, let me know. I didn't have my microphone plugged in earlier, so I'm running on low sleep. Thank you to my 1.5-year-old keeping me up. All right. I'm watching the chat, so if you have questions, go ahead, toss them in there, or feel free to just come off mute. I'll be happy to answer anything. So today we're going to talk a little bit about building that list. One of the things that I had an issue with was in the last 2 years, my wife and we moved, and then I had the second kiddo, and that caused a lot of issues with my marketing, and so it kind of fell off. So the last year or so, I've been really ramping it back up using a lot of the old techniques that I had, and then I've incorporated some new ones. And so I just wanted to basically share, in essence, what I've been doing for the last year, talk about, the tips and tricks and a lot of the tools that I'm using right now to grow my newsletter. I did a huge, heavy cull at the start of the year by sending out just a refresher newsletter. Hey, I'm still alive after a year and a half. And I got a lot of unsubscribes, which was good because if they don't want to be there, I kick them out. And then anybody who didn't open it, I shortened it down. So I had 5,000 subscribers, but only about a quarter of them were active. And then I pruned it down to I think just below 1,000, and I've been able to grow it back up to about 2,500. So in about a year, I had about 1,500 people this year. And so we'll go through how I did that, and I'll do a little bit of show and tell. But for most people, I have this slide here, and I have new slides. They're not just white slides that I've been doing for years. My wife has guilted me into it. So this is a slide that I've been throwing up pretty much for the last 2 years, which is kind of all these bulleted items are these tools in your marketing toolbox Hello, Diana. Feel free to dump your webcam if you don't mind. So each bulleted item is basically, a 4 or 5 hour lecture on how to use things. And there's a lot of wonky things you can do with each bulleted item. So we're going to talk about today was just the newsletters. And I'm just going to touch autoresponders because I don't know if it's as applicable to people who are just getting in newsletters or trying to revamp their stuff. Okay, so Sue had a quick question. So what is the advantage of removing people from the list? So that's a great question. Maybe what I'll do is I'll hold on to that until the end, and then I'll try to answer that at the end. And we'll talk about culling your list and where are the advantages of that, especially with people like Sierra who are going to be paying money. So a lot of people say, yeah, there you go. I think Diana just answered that for you, and I have some other points on that as well. So the first part is, it's hard enough to write the book, but now I need to market. So that's always a big, point of friction for a lot of people, a lot of resistance there. And there's millions and millions of excuses, and we've heard them all, and we've told them to ourselves, and I tell them to myself as well. So I'm not, immune to this. It is hard work, and we think, we want to become this author, and we want to grow, and we want to make money. Hopefully some of us do. And then all of a sudden we realize it starts to resemble a job, and we kind of regret that because we kind of lose the passion and it gets more job-like. And that's something we have to kind of overcome and just kind of embrace. So as we grow as an author, and as we add more revenue, and as we add more tools and add more marketing things that we have to do, it does become like a business. So we do have to accept that. And in becoming like a business, we have to set up these marketing funnels. And it's that's corporate-y speak for ways we drive awareness of what we do, and that's writing books. So how do we get people aware of who we are, and how do we then take the awareness and turn them into consumers and fans that will buy that next book? So the idea of marketing funnels, and we'll go a little bit into it, just the visual nature of it is very helpful. And just how do we onboard new people, right? And how do we create that honest connection, and how do we do that? And so we'll talk a little bit about newsletters, and newsletters as one of those ways to do it. We also have social media. We have all of our Amazon pages, our, the content of our books. We have our web pages. So there's a lot of ways that we can touch people, and newsletters is one of those ways that we can do that. One of the issues is that we can't disappear. So like, as I talked about at the beginning, if you disappear for a period of time, people forget who you are. Maybe you'll send a new newsletter after a year and a half, and people won't even remember reading your book, right? So the key for us is that we want to show up. We want to be consistent in both our publishing and our marketing. And so this can be kind of another point of friction where people are struggling to actually produce enough product, for it to be meaningful. And I think at the end of the talk here, we'll talk about somebody who just writes one book a year. And I think that's something that everybody can do. Especially if you want to become an author, and regardless of your genre, I think you can produce one thing that is publishable a year. If you can do that, I think that really helps. But you can also leverage your back catalog if you have a lot of things. But then also understanding this is a long game. I have a thing here. I'll get rid of this. Do understand it is a long game. That we do have to do a lot of work over a long period of time to help build up that capital, kind of that business capital of a community, of a catalog, and of things that we can market. So we're just trying to get our philosophy in place before we talk about newsletters. We've been talking about last, year or two, the idea of following other authors in your genre. I've talked about this a number of times, reading their books, subscribing to their newsletters, following them on social media as a way to, get through that first resistance of there's so many things we can do, right? And we're kind of paralyzed by choice. There's so many choices, there's so many options, and we don't know which one to do because we only have so much time. It is really helpful to follow a number of authors, not just big authors, but smaller authors, medium-sized authors, and see what they're doing. What are they writing in their newsletters? What are they writing on their social media as a way to kind of see and inform your decisions? I find this to be a very helpful exercise to kind of limit your choice and help you focus on what you need to do. So the best ways to learn is to find mentors, kind of reverse engineer what they're doing, and then kind of do it yourself. We're not saying copy people, but you'll see that I have some of my blurbs look like other blurbs that other people are writing, because that helps me make a choice, and then I can tweak from there. Or I'm reading newsletters, like I'll read Chris Fox's newsletter, and we'll see, oh, I like how he's doing this one thing, right? One thing that I have is I put my whole catalog in my newsletter, and I use all the images, and I'll show you a little bit later on that. And I think I want to get away from that, because I see other authors, they're just listing book 1, book 2, book 3, book 4, and it's a little bit cleaner, and I think that's a change that I want to make. So that's a way that I'm seeing other authors helping me inform how I present to my readers and to my community. Little tricks, just kind of watching what they're doing. So do make sure that you are following other authors to help inform you on what you're doing. Next thing is, I'm not Neil Gaiman reality. So we know most indies, mid-list, and small press authors overwhelmingly rely on digital book sales. A lot of that comes from newsletters. You have to be dynamic in the online space, but you don't have to be like sell every, sending a newsletter every week or every 3 days. We do know, though, that your newsletter is the keystone to all your endeavors, whether it's social media, buying book promotions for your books, like a lot of the stuff that Tony's been doing in the last year. The newsletter, excuse me, the newsletter is that cornerstone. It's said by almost every successful author, every mid-list author that's doing well, they rely heavily on their newsletter. So why does everybody talk about your list? Well, the most important thing is you got the 3 guys at the bottom, Daddy Bezos, Mr. Zuckerbot, and Twitter Rasputin there, want to get between you and the customers, and they want to charge you money to get to them. So for the case with Amazon, they want you to pay Amazon ads to get in front of new readers. Zuckerberg is going to have you build up a huge web page, like your fan page, and then he's going to make you pay money to actually access those people that you worked really hard to gather. And then Twitter is, you're trying to communicate with people, but then maybe they're, I don't know, you're getting caught up in certain algorithms, and they're hiding your posts. They want you to pay for ads to get in front of people. These are the ways that they get in between you. And so the issue is, these third-party platforms that we tend to rely on tend to get between us and the customers. And so email is the easiest way, most powerful tool that we have. It's very personal. People tend to curate their email very tightly, and they only allow things in their email that they like. Roland said that he's been unsubscribing from all of our newsletters. People will unsubscribe from things that they're not interested in. And so email is still that most powerful thing. In the world of social media, I still check my email multiple times a day. It's a very important platform for me to use. And that's true for readers as well. Also, email helps us support, because it allows us to contact directly to our readers and supports getting reviews, new launches, and then additional sales as well. So why does community matter? It does allow you to talk directly to readers. You know that when you send that newsletter out, that you're going to be communicating directly to people. Now, it doesn't mean that everybody's going to open your newsletter, and we'll talk about ways to get your newsletter opened, culling people who are not opening your newsletter, and that type of stuff. But it is outside of third-party control. It's the easiest way for you to broadcast to a very finite community of people who are interested, who have expressed interest in your writing. Whether they've gotten one of your lead magnets, whether they have voluntarily joined your newsletter. These are people who have said they want to be part of you as an author. And that's something we want to leverage. That's something we want to think about as sort of an extension of our family and friends. That these people are not just customers, but they're closer than customers, maybe just beyond friends. And that they're there to support you, and you want to utilize them as a group, authentically, not, in a nefarious way, but you want to utilize them in a way to help reach new readers, building social proof, getting your books up the algorithms on Amazon. How can we leverage this community to get organic, the quote unquote organic reach? How can we get in front of new readers? And your newsletter is that one thing that you can really rely on. You may spend $90 to get into like a bargain booksy, right, for your genre. And you'll get blasted out to 50,000 people, and maybe 10% of those people open the book, and then maybe 1,000 people download your book, right? And you paid $90 for that, or $80 or $60, depending on what genre you're in. Me sending out my newsletter, just my newsletter, saying I have a new free book, cost me little to nothing, and we'll talk about the pricing a little bit later. Cost me little to nothing to get in front of these people I'll get 400 or 500 clicks, and I will get my book into the top, 200 in the Amazon free store. I'll hit number 1 on all my categories just using my list, and it didn't cost me anything. I didn't have to pay Bargain Booksy a huge amount of money to get my book in front of people. So this is just another tool in your tool chest that you want to utilize to help push your book up the rankings, help get organic reach and do those type of things. So that's why community matters. And the idea around your newsletter is that's that first community that you can build. So what is a newsletter provider? So we talk about newsletters. So newsletters is, analogous to an email that you get. We talk about the idea of a list, and think of a list as like a bucket. And in that bucket are a bunch of emails, and those are contacts. So you may have a list that is for, say, urban fantasy. If you write urban fantasy, and you may have 300 or 400 people in there. And then you may also have another list that is your early readers, and there might be 40 people in that list. And you send your book to those early readers first. They give you some feedback, or maybe they leave you reviews, and then you promote it to your general list, whatever it is. Lists are basically buckets that you can put contacts in, and there can be duplicates across that. You may have people in your general list and also in another list, and maybe also in your early reader list, right? So these are these various buckets you can put people into. So the company manages your emails, and they provide you the ability to generate beautiful looking emails that get past spam filters, because there's an error of legitimacy in the provider. Like things like Gmail and Hotmail recognize emails coming from people like MailChimp, MailerLite, SendFox, things of that nature as legitimate emails. Now, there's still some issues with getting caught up into spam filters, and we can talk a little bit about that if necessary. But they do come through, and they don't get picked up by spam. Let's see. The other thing as well is using a newsletter provider allows you the ability to both manually add subscribers. That's something we don't want to do. We tend to want to automate that process. So we want to make it available to people to sign up anywhere at any time around the world. And that's what these guys allow you to do. So Sierra has a question. I've seen problems with AOL accounts not getting my emails. Well, yeah. So AOL is kind of old. I don't know if that's something you really want to worry about as much. There is a way to get people to whitelist you. If those are specific people, you can have them. There's a process, and I'll give a link here at the end, that if you can somehow reach people, if they're in your Facebook group, Sierra, and they're saying they're not seeing your emails, you can post a link, and then they can follow the process to, in essence, I think the term is whitelisting you, which would allow the email to come through. Yeah, I'll give you that link at the end. Okay, so who are some newsletter providers? We're going to talk a lot about SendFox today, and ignore any screaming you might hear from Sierra. SendFox, MailerLite, MailChimp tend to be the ones you want to focus on here. There are a bunch of others, and I listed them there. They tend to be a little bit more expensive and tend to be for more mature businesses, maybe things beyond author, specifically being an author. Even author email right there, it was a little pricey. So I don't know if that's something you guys want to look at. The top 3 tend to be the ones that most people use. For me, one that stands out above the rest is SendFox. And for me, why SendFox matters is that almost every email service charges a monthly fee. So if you get past, so for example, I think MailerLite is still 1,000 emails. It's free. I think MailChimp is 2,000. One of the issues was I was with MailChimp for a long time. I was a big proponent for MailChimp, and then somehow they got a new, I don't know, grotesque mentality, and they started deprecating a lot of the features that they had once allowed under the free service. You could have multiple lists, you could have autoresponders. They took all that away, and then they started charging you for unsubscribes, and I got really upset, and I said, no, I'm done. And I was looking for another one. I was looking at MailerLite. I wasn't really too happy with it. And SendFox came in. I don't know where I found it, but it got recommended, and I've been with SendFox for pretty much most of the year, and I've been pretty happy with it. My thing is, if you're starting out, if you have a small list, if you want to save money, I think SendFox is your best option. They do have 3 types of plans. There's a free plan, there's a lifetime plan, and no, this is not a webinar for SendFox, although I could talk for hours on it. There's the lifetime plan. It's $49. It's a one-time charge. So if you say have 5,000 subscribers, say you have 3,000 subscribers, you're still paying. You don't pay anything on a monthly basis. You just paid a one-time fee. and it caps you, I think, at 50,000 emails a month. So you could probably send with your 3,000 subscribers, 4 or 5 emails a month, and you won't even touch your cap. So you're not paying for everything every month. And for me, that's a nice addition for me. There's also an Empire plan that it's not something that I can do. So Diana says AppSumo, which owns SendFox, has specials on SendFox and doing a couple little things to join, get some extra subs allowed. Yes, we will talk about the extra subs at the end if you want to help out a struggling stay-at-home dad. So SendFox is my favorite right now, and I'll do a whole show and tell here at the end, and you guys can see what it looks like and what do you want to do. So what can you do with SendFox? You can do everything that MailerLite, MailChimp do. It's a little bit more of a beta level software, so you got to learn all the widgets and stuff. It can be a little frustrating at first, but I've worked through it, and it seems pretty simple to me. You can migrate from MailerLite and MailChimp. There's actually a single button MailChimp migration. So if you're on MailChimp, you want to just come on over, you hit a button, you sign in, and then they import all your contacts automatically. So can you have multiple lists? Apps? Are there a number of lists capped? No. So you get an unlimited amount. Can you do autoresponders? Yep. And they're unlimited. You can cap to 50,000 emails. As I said, they support landing pages, unlimited landing pages, which is nice. They also have a WordPress plugin. So if you have a WordPress website, you can incorporate that as well. And then are they supported by things like BookFunnel and Story Origin, which we'll talk a little bit about later? And yes, they are. So if you do pay for the integrations, you can have your emails taken from BookFunnel straight to your SendFox list. So you don't have to do it manually, which is a nice thing. But we've talked about what newsletter to choose, and you can make that choice for yourself. I like SendFox. I'll show you what it looks like at the end. But let's get into kind of the philosophy of the newsletters. Excuse me. Before we jump in, we want to plan. My biggest thing is that newsletters should probably be one of those first things you do when you start to promote yourself. And you want to make sure you're planning these things out. It is a tremendous amount of commitment because it does require you to show up consistently over a period of time in order to help, I say, cure subscribers, to make them fans of you as opposed to just somebody who's aware of you. You got to make your email worth opening. And so the best way to do this for a lot of people is to plan ahead. So the question is, what do I send? How often do I send? And how do I grow? So those would be the big questions we'll try to answer. So the first thing is, what do I send? Obviously, if you're doing romance like Sierra, you want to send pictures of handsome Henry in a hot tub. After subscribing to an author, you have done that for a reason. You like their writing. You're interested in who they are. You want to look at yourself as a reader. What would a reader of you expect? How did they find your book? Where did they find you? What are they expecting from that? You can write about your garden and your hot tub, your new hot tub, but are they really expecting you to read more about your writing, or they expect to read about your personal life? Now, there are some arguments out there that says if you personalize your newsletter, it makes people see you as an authentic person and connect with you more. And I'm not against that, but sometimes it can get excessive. And so you have to consider, what is your newsletter and what are the subscribers who came to you expecting? And that's kind of a question that you're going to have to answer. For me, if you're just starting out, you don't know what to do, the safest point is to keep it simple. So give them something to read. They wanted to join your newsletter because they like what you write. You're an author. Give them something to read, whatever that is, and we'll go through some examples of what that could be. Keep it on the shorter side, something they can scroll. Most of these people are going to be opening it on their smartphones, on Apple, Android phone. You got about 3 or 4 swipes before you might lose them. So keep it short. Keep short emails, and simple calls to action. Can be 1 or 2 calls to action. You'll see, I'll show you examples of what that looks like, and try to keep it topical. So if you are, writing about your world or your characters in your emails, that's great. That's something that's topical. If you're writing about another book that you like, great. That's topical because that's something that, you're becoming an authority. Like someone like Linda is starting to do book reviews in her newsletter and trying to point people to, good reading. You become an authority. People want to listen. They want to open your email. See, these are things of cultivating. What I like people to do is really focus on, those readers are getting to you. What can you do to keep them there? That's the big thing we want to think about. Don't do politics. Number one thing. Linda was just joking about it before the talk started. Do try to keep it out. It is very contentious. Last thing you want to do is, anger one person one way or the other, and then they go out and spam negative reviews and things like that. Just keep it out. It keeps it safe. Unless you're overtly political writer, or, you're writing nonfiction about politics, obviously you can do that. But if you're just doing fiction books, try to keep that out, and it'll minimize a lot of the toxic pain that we've been seeing some people have. So the next thing is, how often do I send? So this is a question that has a ton of different answers, and it really depends on who you are and what you're trying to accomplish. So how often are you publishing your books? Are you just an author? Are you trying to be a book reviewer? Are you trying to be the next book bub, right? It depends on what you're trying to accomplish with what you're doing. For most of us, we're just trying to be an author, and we're just trying to connect with our 1,000 readers, right? So for us, that looks like more like a once a month, maybe every other month, as Rachel said, maybe quarterly, things of that nature. So if you want to do once a month or every other month, you're looking at 6 to 12 newsletters a year, at a minimum 3 to 4, right? So this is what you're looking at in terms of how you are connecting, how you are channeling these people to do certain things, whether it's to leave reviews, whether it's to buy the new book, to do whatever. If we look at our beginning of our year, especially when we're coming to the end of the year here and you're looking out into 2021, how do I want to build my newsletter? How do I want to do these things? And you can map out your newsletters ahead of time, right? So,
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Can I add something here?
Yeah, go ahead.
I will for years I did once a month, and then at the beginning of 2020 I said, you know what? I'm going to do twice a month, and I'm going to have it very regimented as to what I do on each of those, newsletters that's twice a month. And my open rate has gone much higher.
Yeah. Yep.
So,
I agree with you. Yeah. I do typically twice a month to one time a month. Depends on what I have coming up in my planning like if I have some publishing coming up, I can leverage the publishing to get a few more newsletters out. And I agree with you. I see my open rate go up. I have heard negative things about going more than twice a month. If you're doing every week, it depends on what you're trying to accomplish, what type of readers you have. And for me, I kind of have slower readers, so I try not to overdo it beyond every 15 days.
Yeah. And I also do it the first and third Tuesday of every month. And
Cool.
I think that's made a huge difference to set a day and to stick to that schedule.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So Sierra has a comment. I have friends who send weekly and she's killing it, and hers are short and sweet. Perfect. Yeah. So if you do go more frequent, Sierra, I agree with you. You want to keep it shorter, something worth reading. And then like Linda has really nice long emails. She has nice, almost essay level stuff sometimes. And they're really good. And, 2-week cadence is probably fine with that. Or every 15 days or twice a month. One of the issues that a lot of people have with newsletters is the newsletter burnout, where they're coming in, on Friday and they know they got to get a newsletter out on Monday. Now, some people like urgency, like you'll hear Susan say, I like to write under a timeline. That's great. Most people can't do that. And then when they feel that crunch, they feel like they're starting to burn out on this type of thing. Avoiding newsletter burnout, just like, blogging burnout or podcasting burnout. Anyone who does digital content or blogging of any sort can suffer burnout because they're constantly having to create. Preparing ahead while remaining agile, depending on what you're producing during the year, is I think one of the best ways to avoid the burnout that a lot of people end up having, where you hear the anxiety of I gotta come up with a newsletter in the next 30 minutes, that type of thing. Planning helps that. So what type of content can you put out there? Well, obviously essays, articles, blog posts. If you're doing any type of blogging, it's a good way to go. And you can toss in book reviews as well. I know, Rachel, you do a lot of book reviews. That's another good way to put content out if you want to increase the volume of newsletters that you have. And it's also a good way to monetize as well, especially if you're bringing people to your website to read a review, and then you link to Amazon via an affiliate link for that book. That's a good way to monetize your blogging and your newsletter and kind of combine the two. You cannot put affiliate links directly into newsletters. That's a no-no for Amazon, but you can take them to your website, which then you can then link to your affiliate account. So that's a good way to do that as well. If you have new releases, you can push your backlist. If you have any awards or announcements, that's great. If you've bundled books together, it's another good excuse to hit a newsletter, anthologies, box sets. Anytime you've combined something, it's another good way to go. Audiobooks, print versions finally available, that type of thing. Giving away a free print book, whatever it might be. These are good ways to do that. Also, early access, and we'll show a little bit about how you can use early access as an excuse to email your newsletters, to hit your newsletter, to kind of stoke interest in what you're writing. Short stories and behind the scenes stuff as well is another bunch of good ideas. So if you're thinking about like what I'm trying to do for the coming year, these are some really good ideas, keeping it very topical to what you write, to you as an author, as opposed to having to come up with, here's my new hot tub or here's my garden and this type of stuff that may not be necessarily related directly to your writing. So here's some good ideas. So what does that look like? Author 2385, whoever this person is, just as an example, they publish one novel a year and they write 3 short stories. Short stories, maybe 3,000 to 4,000 words, 5,000 words at the most. You can easily see 12 newsletters coming out of this, and they can do it via this. They have a novel, they do an early access newsletter for reviews, and then they do the announcement. So that's 2 newsletters right there. You can space them out 1 month apart. Very easy to do. Short stories, again, another way to do this. You have 3 early access newsletters for early reviews. You have 3 announcement newsletters, and maybe you have an anthology announcement at the end of the year where you take those short stories, put them into a box set, and you announce that. That's another good way to go as well. I actually have done this year. This is one thing that I did to help spur interest in my newsletter and be able to send more newsletters out. And I'll show you a few of those as well, where I wrote short stories set in, a common location. They were all standalone, and I was able to push those out as newsletter content as free reading for people who are interested. And because I did pre-orders and I linked them all together, I was actually getting purchases. People on my newsletter were pre-purchasing the next short story that was going to come out. So it's another way to kind of garner interest, get some revenue, things of that nature. And then at the end, maybe you do one backlist promotion at the end of the year. You buy a bargain booksy or something of that nature, and you want to stack your newsletter on top of it. It's a great way to do that as well. So there's 12 newsletters. You can easily get it for the year. You send it on the 1st of every month, and you're good to go. Any questions so far? Anything in the chat? Otherwise, I'll get going. This is the big stuff: how to grow your newsletter. And I'm going to try to keep the whole talk under an hour. That's my goal today. So here you go. I'm looking at my newsletter. I'm just starting out. I have 6 people on my newsletter. 3 of them are my emails because I was testing my newsletter. 2 of them are my writer friends who have yet to publish. They're very helpful. And 1's grandma, right? So you got 6 people on it. It's really sad looking and you're really depressed, but it's okay. Everybody here starts at 0. I started at 0. Everybody who's doing all the methods from here on out that we'll see in the slides here all started at 0. So it's okay to start from somewhere. So don't feel bad that you don't have anyone. There are a few ways to quickly get like 50 or 60 subscribers, tending to use your family and friends to do that. That's one way to do, kind of get some interest. Another way to do it is to put out a bunch of sticky traps. We've talked at length about having a lead magnet available that you can promote that gets people to sign up to your newsletter. These lead magnets can be short stories, they can be book 1, they can be a novella or novelette that leads into book 1, things of that nature. Be able to put this everywhere at the front and back of all your books, put it on your website, social media, make it a sticky post on your Twitter page, whatever it might be. There are tons of places where you can put it, and you can maybe gobble up, a dozen, 2 dozen, subscribers immediately. At the very bottom, I have a link there. I have a link to a simple free course. I think it's Tammy, I think is her name. I can't pronounce her last name, but she's the newsletter ninja. She has a nice little free course there if you want to take that. It's a lot of these type of methods right here of getting your first 100 subscribers. I think Nick Stevenson also has your first 1,000 or first 100 subscribers course as well. So if you're interested in that, I also have a link to a podcast, Side Hustle podcast, on how to grow your newsletter if you want to look at that as well. Yeah, first 10,000. Thank you. So Diana says, I got 100 signups a month since I started putting my lead magnet on my front. Yeah, on your book matter. Perfect. So she put a lead magnet right in the front of her books. And she's got a bunch of people signing up. So that's great. That's another way to do it. So if you have a free, have your book on Amazon, put that as like an early page. Hey, sign up for my newsletter. You get a free book, or you get a free novella, whatever it might be. So these are quick, easy ways to get, your first few subscribers. But what's next? Where do you go after that? Well, obviously, family and friends dries up fast. Those onesie, twosie readers is nice, but you want to really be onboarding hundreds of people. How do I onboard hundreds of people a month and really grow my newsletter over the next 2, 3, 4 years to get to that magic 10,000 subscribers or 20,000 subscribers? How do I do that? One of the easiest ways to get to that initial level, maybe not get all the way there, but one of the ways to get there is to use the author promotion websites, BookFunnel, and we'll talk about Story Origin as well. We used to talk about InstaFreebie. I think they're now called Prolific Reader. I am not using them anymore. I'm pretty much focused on BookFunnel and Story Origin. It's kind of where most of the work has gone. Most of the people are in these two platforms. And we'll talk extensively about all this, and I'll answer all the questions, and I'll do a lot of show and tell as well. So BookFunnel, Story Origin, there's the links. What these platforms do is they cost monthly, and we'll talk about the pricing here in a page, the next page. What they do is you store your lead magnet on there. It allows you to build a landing page. The landing page is connected to your newsletter. They call that integration. So when somebody comes to the landing page and says, hey, this lead magnet looks really cool, I'll show you an example of what those look like. You sign up, it gets ported right over to your newsletter automatically. You don't have to do anything, and it shows right up in your email list. And then the next time you send out your newsletter, it'll send out to your next new 100 people as well. So it does it automatically. It's really nice. They provide beautiful landing pages. They also allow you to coordinate with other author giveaways, and we'll talk about that. And that's really where the rubber hits the road on growing your newsletter past that 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 subscriber level, is getting involved in the author giveaways. Story Origin has a really cool feature, and I'll show you how to do it. I'll show you a little bit about it, is the newsletter swaps, and we'll talk a little bit about newsletter swaps in a little while. Why do these guys matter? Well, they help you build your list while you're sleeping. That's the first one. I love that. People are subscribing all around the world all the time, and you're sleeping and you're adding new people to your list. We'll talk about autoresponders at the end and how you can maybe squeeze a little bit of money out of that. But while you're sleeping, you're adding people to your newsletter. It's passive by nature, which is really nice. So it doesn't require you to do a lot of manual effort. It happens automatically, and it just requires a little bit of maintenance to get into the next giveaway, and then coordinate that giveaway with your newsletter, and we'll show you how that works as well. And it supports nearly every genre. So if Roland wants to get into the literary art, nonfiction world, he can get into giveaways there as well and be able to onboard new people onto his newsletter. They have romance, they have urban fantasy, they have chick lit, and I know Tony's turning in her grave there. Old lit, old lady lit, old adult. They have pretty much every genre, and we'll show you all the genres that they support. I pretty much don't think there's a genre not supported. They even have children's book stuff there too as well. So people who are writing children's books, like Heidi, she can be involved in that as well. So what's the cost? BookFunnel costs you about $10 a month for the basic plan. That's where you don't have integration. And what that means is you have to manually download all the subscribers and then upload that to your email provider. That's not a very hard thing to do. So if you want to save $5 a month and not pay $60 a year for that, that's great. I like it when you're sleeping that it's doing that automatically, and I don't have to worry about it. It's one less thing to worry about and keep tabs on. When I didn't have integration, I just remembered whenever I sent my new newsletter, I had to go get all my new subscribers and put them into my list. That was my trigger to remember that. The cool thing about Story Origin right now is that it's in a beta period and it's free. I think when they come off of free, it is probably going to be the $10 to $15 range. So it'll be right where BookFunnel is. They're doing almost the same thing with that BookFunnel is doing, except they have the newsletter swap feature that is really nice. And I don't know if they'll put that behind a little bit more of expensive paywall. So, but right now it's free. So you really have no excuse not to be using Story Origin right now. If you don't want to spend money on BookFunnel, that's fine. Now you're saying, well, back it up. $49 one-time fee for SendFox. That's great. And then all I'm doing is dropping $10 a month, and I'm building my newsletter. I'm making sales, and I'm growing myself as an author for basically the same cost for about $150 a year as I pay for my stupid website. That doesn't do anything for me, right? So what is important? This is a good place to put your money. It's cheaper than running ads. It's cheaper than book promotions, and it should be where the first place you get started. I can't tell you how exciting it is to send a newsletter and have some rando person reply and say, I really liked that short story, or I really love this new book that you wrote. It is so invigorating. It's like, it's the most addicting thing as a new author, as a young author, to get that feedback right in your inbox is really fun. So I really encourage you guys to get the newsletters going, getting them up and running is probably one of the most important things you can do. And at the price point these are, you can't complain. Like, you just can't complain. So let's look at some examples. So I'm going to show you, I have my first book in my urban fantasy series, and I have it on both BookFunnel and Story Origin. Both support integration, so into SendFox is great. And I'll show you what those actually look like. So this is a landing page that the person would see. You end up putting your cover here. If they click on the cover, or they click on Get My Book, you end up getting triggered like, hey, what's your first name? What's your email address? I understand that I'm signing up for this guy's newsletter. Send me the book. And then what it does is they will then get sent that book to their email, like Mobi, EPUB, depends on what they chose. And then they can forward that to their e-reader device. It's a very quick way to get the subscribers. They can come here and do that in less than 10 seconds. Okay, that's what the landing page looks like, and you can use this landing page anywhere. So this link up here is static. You can put it in your social media. You can put it on Twitter. You can put it on Facebook. You can put it in the back in front of your book as a hyperlink. You can put it on your webpage. I actually think there's a couple authors who use this as kind of what's the name of the author? He's one of the authors I follow too. Anyway, he's a horror author. He uses this, and he's a traditionally published author. And on the front of his page, when you click on it to get his free book, it takes you right to a BookFunnel sign up. So it's really nice. Here it is on Story Origin. You can see it's very similar. They have the yellow banner on the top, but basically you have your book cover, you have your little write up. You say, "Get me the story." You click on it. It says, "Send me the download link." Yes, I want to subscribe. They have a lot of your information built into it, and boom, they become a subscriber, very quickly. So these are the ways that you can use BookFunnel and Story Origin as the delivery mechanism for your lead magnet, as well as providing a beautiful landing page that you can post, anywhere and everywhere. And you should post it anywhere and everywhere. Okay, so that's a good example there. Let's do a little bit of review on that content matrix. I've brought this up a few times, just as a little refresher. Why do you have a lead magnet, and why is it important? So for example, you just saw the 2 lead magnet pages. Again, that lead magnet is where you're putting all your effort, you're putting all your promotion, you're trying to get everybody into that lead magnet, because that lead magnet leads you into your series, book 1, book 2, book 3. Right? Or the lead magnet is leading you into a standalone book series where book 2 is a standalone, book 3 is a standalone, book 4 is a standalone. Maybe they're in a common world, right? And then maybe you have a bunch of extra stuff in your catalog, right? Where are you going to put all your effort? You're going to put it into your lead magnet, because that's where you're going to get the most bang for your buck, right? If somebody signs up for your lead magnet, they're going to go on and read book 1, right? Why would you put a ton of effort into your short stories when your lead magnet is the most important thing? Right. Now, I did short stories as a way to cultivate my newsletter, but it's not the thing that I lead with when I'm doing my book promotions, when I'm doing my author promotions that I'm in. I focus solely on my lead magnet. Okay. So very important. And why do we do that? Because it is a marketing funnel. The idea is that you want someone to know, like, and trust. In this image, they use awareness, evaluation, conversion. Exact same thing. You want people to know who you are. You have to then get them to like you, and that comes through good communication via your newsletter. So if I onboard somebody new, they get into my newsletter, they get 2, 3, 4 newsletters from me where I'm giving them something to read. They go, wow, this guy is giving me nice stuff. I like what he's writing. I'm going to keep an eye out for his next book. Right now they like me, boom. Now they trust me and they're going to buy that next book. Or I let them know that the pre-order is up for my new book. They go, wow, I know this guy. I like him. All right, I trust him. I'm going to give him $2.99. Right. So these are the type of things. This is your mindset. And this marketing funnel comes from marketing channels. So readers come from many different ways, right? I know this is kind of kludgy, and I kind of just threw it together because I keep having this idea in my head and I don't know how to visually show it, but I'll try to explain it. Readers come from many, many, many different areas. Whether they have access to your books, like the first image, they come from social media, Facebook, Twitter, whatever. They somehow stumble upon you. You're talking in some other group and they come and look at your page, or they find your book in some promotional thing like BookFunnel or promotion like free books or bargain books or Fussy Librarian, things like that. They find out who you are and they come from many, many, many different ways. And your goal is to get them to take an action. And that action can be many different things. Your action could do to get them to buy the next book, right? And go to Amazon, buy that next book. That could be the action they want. Your other action could be sign up to my newsletter so that I can give you more stuff, right? Or the action could be, hey, I want you to follow me on social media so I can communicate with you in the future. So you have all these different readers coming from different channels. Each one of those items is a funnel, and you're trying to get them to do something. Whether it's buy your next book, join your newsletter, like you on social media, some way to communicate with you and to connect with you. The one we're talking about is taking people who may read your book, see you on social media, find you in a promotion, and get them onto your newsletter somehow. So let's see, Linda's got a question. How do you increase the number of readers who are buyers versus those who are freebie seekers? With giving so much away, do you find people expect everything to be free? That is correct. So let's hold that question just for a minute and talk about group promotions, and then I'll come back to what you're saying there, Linda. BookFunnel and Story Origin not only support you in putting up a lead magnet, giving you a nice landing page, but they also allow authors to communicate together and to coordinate group promotions. And this right here is where you will be, looking to add hundreds, 200s of subscribers per month to your newsletter. And this is how they do it, where a bunch of authors come together, say there's 30 or 40 authors. They all have varying levels of their newsletter. Maybe they have 500 people. Another person has 2,000. You have some whale at 10,000, and then maybe a couple other people at 1,000. We all come together. We put our books onto a promotional page. We hit our newsletters. They come in. They find something that they're interested in. This is the easiest way to add and share across newsletters, and they do it by genre. So it's an easy way to find other urban fantasy readers. This is where what Linda is talking about, where we have these freebie seekers. So these people are coming in, they're trying to get a free book. They're looking for something new to read. It can be very competitive. You want to make sure your covers are very, very, very compelling, so that you can stand out. This is the way you may see a lot of freebie seekers. And this may be something that you segment your email list. Everybody who comes from BookFunnel and Story Origin goes into my freebie list, right? And whenever I'm doing a free book promotion, I'm going to hit that list. So they go to Amazon and get my new free book, right? You may then send a newsletter out to those people asking them to buy a book. And you will see your numbers drop. And I will show you exactly what that looks like, because a lot of these people are freebie seekers. But Linda, they're not bad people. Because even though they're freebie seekers, they do go to Amazon to get free books. And when your book gets shoved up the rankings on the free center, you do get new access to new readers organically. And this is where they're important. If you can segment your list, and we can talk a little bit about what that looks like, and this is something I'm going to be doing here in the next year, is when you do ask somebody to pay money for a book, you can see the people who click on that link. Those people are people that are willing to pay money for something. You can immediately put them into a buying list. and you can begin to cultivate and grow a buying list, people who are willing to buy books. And that's a good way to segment those two things together. Segment your freebie seekers and segment your buying people. That may be a little bit more sophisticated than most of the people on the group. This is a good place to start. Once you do this for a year, maybe 2 years, you can then begin to segment your list into various segments that do certain things that you want to accomplish in your marketing. So hopefully that wasn't too crazy. Lynn, did that kind of answer your question? Maybe you can come off mute if you have more of that.
Yeah, I don't get the whole I don't understand how to physically segment my list.
Okay.
But that's my problem. I'll figure that out. But yeah, that was my problem before, is that I did a lot of the promotions, and my whole list was made up of people who were looking for freebies. And I understand, it's good to, have that happening on Amazon, but yeah, whenever I was actually trying to sell something, I would go to them and there would be, crickets. So
yeah. So that is the concern. The quality of the subscribers you're getting from these group promotions, I would say, is medium to slightly below medium, meaning that somebody who is all the way at the bottom is never going to open your email. If you can imagine full and empty on your gas tank. If somebody who's in the empty area, they just got your book and they're never going to open your newsletter. They send your newsletter into myspam@gmail.com. And I've seen those emails before. Those are people that you'll eventually remove from your newsletter. And that's just part of the churn. These people tend to be medium level subscribers that you will get some people reading through your series. You'll get people buying your next book. You can get people to purchase books. But they do tend to be more on the freebie side, so they like free stuff. It doesn't mean they're not useful. They do leave reviews. They do blast your book up in the free level. These are things that are important to you as an author to utilize as a marketing technique. Let's see. Diana says, doesn't weeding out by opens to some degree weed out the freebie seekers over time? Yes. But you're weeding out between the freebie seeker and the person who never wanted to be on your newsletter in the first place. Those are two different things. So if you have a freebie seeker who opens your newsletter, that's somebody who's just looking for cheap books, and they're useful in some way. But if you have somebody who gets your free book and then never opens your email, that's somebody you just dump. Those are bad people, and that goes back to the earlier question about culling the emails, and we'll maybe talk about that in a few minutes. When you do these group promotions, you are required to send out a newsletter, and you can promote on social media. If you have social media channels, they tend to coordinate there as well. You are sharing email lists with other people. When you start to get large enough, you may not want to share your newsletter with people who are just starting out. This is when you begin to find a group of authors that you trust. Like, for example, Sierra, you know a lot of romance writers who probably have larger lists. You can coordinate group promotions that are private with those authors to then push your books out or share newsletters and things like that. I tend to see larger authors. You tend to see larger authors doing newsletter shares, but I never see that as a promotion on, say, BookFunnel or Story Origin. It's because there are a bunch of Facebook groups where people are coordinating offline or in private groups. And they only let certain people in. You have to be a large enough author. So you'll see people graduate out of the kind of the the cafeteria and into the picnic out back type of thing, if you can get my analogy there. You do want to limit your promotions that you get into to 2 to 3. You don't want to stuff your newsletter with 6 or 7 of these things, because you're kind of abusing the system. And then also your click-through rate is going to be low. So not everybody's going to click on every single link. And then a lot of these guys use tracking links, and you get rewarded by having more clicks on those links. So it's best to keep it to 2 to 3 promos per newsletter. The next thing as well is newsletter swaps. And this is more, I would say, advanced level stuff. If you get to be a large enough, newsletter, and you don't want to share it with people who are, who have 1,000 people on their newsletter or 500 people, you can begin working with other authors on a one-to-one basis and doing straight newsletter swaps across. This is a very effective way. You can either do a newsletter swap that goes directly to Amazon, say it's a new book, or you have a freebie that's you're running for the day, and you want to get a bunch of people to download the book, you can do newsletter swaps. This is where an author will showcase your book in their newsletter, and then you do the same thing as well. So you basically are sharing newsletters. One thing that you need to keep in mind here is that you are sharing somebody else's writing on your newsletter. So you may want to make sure that it's of high quality, that maybe you've read it, maybe this author. You want to kind of read what you're promoting, and so that your readers will then start to trust you. If you promote a bad book, then they're not going to trust you anymore. So those are considerations you may want to take into account. There are issues. There are some newsletter swap monkeys who put 6 to 10 authors in every newsletter, and it dilutes what you're going for. You're going to then showcase their book as a single thing, and then they got 10 other authors in their newsletter. So it's not a one-to-one exchange. So that's something you want to consider. So do get on their newsletter ahead of time. If you have somebody who's interested, delay a little bit, read their lead magnet, get on their newsletter, get on their, I got kids in the back. Get on their newsletter and see what they're doing before you commit to doing a newsletter swap. So you want to be aware of what you're getting yourself into. Yeah, those are things that I've run into that I got kind of burned on. I had to learn it the hard way. Promotion failure. So this is where you can fail on promotions, where you're like, I'm doing these promotions. Matt told me to do these things. I'm paying all this money and this guy's an idiot. I'm not doing anything right. What's wrong? They do use tracking links. So organizers will ban freeloaders. So if you're not sharing the link, if you're not sending out a newsletter, if you're not sharing on social media, you're not getting clicks, they will ban you, or you have a kind of a social credit score on the back end that they can see, and they can ban you from giveaways or promotions if you're not, doing the work. Another issue is if you have bad indie covers, and you will see in these promotions really bad covers, and you're not going to get clicks when 1,000, 2,000 people are hitting this promotional page. And if you don't have good covers, people are not going to click on your book. There's also this issue of a heat map on this thing. And I'll show you one of these promo pages. If you can imagine, it's an array or a matrix of books. So maybe it's 4 wide and maybe 20 deep, right? So you got 100 books on this promotion. Most of the clicks come at the top left. So if you're organizing a promotion, which I encourage everybody to eventually do, put your book at number 1, right? Because you're going to get the most clicks. If you come late to a promotion, your book gets put at the bottom. You're not going to get any clicks. You will, but you won't get as many as you would when you're further up. I've noticed I get a lot more downloads when I'm at the top of it versus when I'm at the bottom. So you want to get onto these promotions early because they do give you guys priority. They also, I think the organizer can organize the books based on the look of the book. So do be aware of that as well. So yeah, Diana says, I don't even join the ones that are giant wallow books. So that is a good consideration to keep in mind. But also, when you have more authors, you have more access to readers. So do consider that if you want. And I'll show you some big ones that are out there. When you forget when your promotion starts or finishes, do keep a reminder. Maybe you may have to have a calendar to remind you that, hey, this is a promotion that's running. BookFunnel has a nice kind of visual system that they have for any promotion that's running, and it points to when you've committed to putting out your newsletter. So it's a good visual way to look at there as a reminder. You also forget to stack promotions. So I said before, 2 to 3 promos at the max. If you forget to put a promotion in, then you got to send out another newsletter, and then all of a sudden your readers are like, "What's going on? Why am I getting spam from this idiot?" So don't forget that you may want to make sure that you're using all the promotions together, so you don't have to send out a lot of newsletters. Okay, so a newsletter promotion engine. So what is this? You're going to create a newsletter. You're going to create the content that goes into it. You're going to promote the lead magnet on social media and the book matter of your books, right, to get an initial group of newsletters. You're going to coordinate with author promotions and swaps. You'll then get new subscribers, and then you'll go right back to the top. You'll create new content. You'll promote that lead magnet. You'll get new subscribers. You go back to the top. And this is the cycle that you're doing as you're swelling your newsletter over time. And you'll see it grow. You'll see the number of clicks that your open rate will grow. Your clicks will go through the roof. and you'll continue to grow and grow, and you'll see those benefits down the line when you're promoting your book, when you're selling books, when you're doing free giveaways, things of that nature. You will see it grow over time. So I'll do a brief message on autoresponders, and then we'll do a bunch of show and tell, because I know people want to see. They don't want to just hear somebody jabber about it. So new subscribers can be put into an autoresponder. And what is an autoresponder? So imagine falling into, say, an assembly line. You're on the belt, and you're being, as a new subscriber, you're being taken through something, like on a journey. You're going to get your first email, and then you'll get a second email, and then you'll get a third email, and maybe a fourth email over a period of time, say 3 to 4 days apart. And each email, you're trying to get this new reader to do something. So claim the giveaway, upsell them on book 2 or the box set, get them to take an action like leaving a review, and then you eventually move them to the main email list. But while they're in the autoresponder, they're not getting your normal newsletters. They're getting their sequence of newsletters. And autoresponders can be a very powerful way to weed out the freebie seekers, and to help narrow the people who want to spend money. So this goes back to what Linda was talking about, was that as somebody subscribes to you, you then send them another newsletter to get them to do, I don't know how to create an autoresponder. We can talk a little bit about that. But with each platform, Sierra had the question, I don't know how to create an autoresponder. Each platform has its own way to do that. And I can show you the SendFox way. But they have different terminology. They may have like automation. I don't know what it is for MailerLite. I think in MailChimp it was automation. In SendFox they use the autoresponder terminology. I think Diana uses MailerLite, so maybe she can answer your question for you. Yeah, automation. Okay, yeah, they use the term automation as well. Okay. Typically, Sierra, when you do an automation, you'll click on it. You'll say create a new automation. You'll answer a bunch of questions, and then they'll ask so how many emails do you want, or maybe they set you up with a template, and then each newsletter, you have to generate the content that's in that. You have to write it as a newsletter, but once it's there, it's done, it's set. And I can show you what that kind of looks like. Once they're done moving through the autoresponder, then they graduate to your main list, and then they can get their normal newsletters. And so it is an effective way of accomplishing those type of things. So let's show you what BookFunnel and StoryOrigin looks like. But before we get going, are there any other questions? Any questions? You can come off mute. Feel free, because we're just going to go through a bunch of show and tell, and then I'm going to try to get you guys to take action. Any questions?
Yeah, this is Diana.
Hey.
I have a question about SendFox. I have MailerLite.
Yep.
And I like it overall, but I like the cheapness and lifetime aspect of SendFox. So I have that too now, but I've been afraid to screw it up by migrating from one to the other.
Okay.
Do you know if it's possible to kind of do that gradually? For example, if I sent out an email that was recruiting for an ARC readership, could I have that click go to SendFox while I left my MailerLite still intact for a while?
Yeah, so a cheap way to do that, if you have, say, BookFunnel, you can do that automatically. So you can just give away the giveaway, and when they sign up for the giveaway, it sends that email into a SendFox newsletter list as opposed to the MailerLite one. That's one way to do it automatically. The other thing too is if you just give away, I think you use StoryOrigin a lot. So if you give away something on StoryOrigin, you can then download those as like a CSV file, like an Excel sheet, and then import that into SendFox. That's another way to go. Those would be the two routes that I'd probably go to achieve what you're talking about. Another way, you can just export your entire list as a comma separated file, CSV file, and then just import it into SendFox, and then just work from SendFox from then on. Like for example, if you do lists, if you want to add people on SendFox, they have the ability to do it automatically from MailChimp. You can do Google Contacts, so if you have a Gmail account, or you can upload via CSV file. And that would be probably your easiest ways to just migrate over. So you have all the contacts in both sides, and then you can just slowly shift everybody over to SendFox. Hopefully, does that answer your question? Hopefully.
Yep, it does. Thank you.
Yeah, I would just do like when I went to SendFox, I just did a bulk export from MailChimp. And I just said, okay, now I'm on SendFox. To them, it was transparent. Some of the look and feel of the newsletters was a little different, but it was basically the same thing. It was kind of transparent to them. I just moved the platform. Let's see. I did just do that thing. Okay, so here's SendFox. Pretty simple, very simple platform. You have up on the top, you have dashboard, you have emails, automations, which is something that was asked, lists, and contacts. Contacts allows you to add, here's all the emails. Maybe I'll try to keep it from actually seeing people's emails. You can create different lists, and you see here I have, ignore the top one, I'm just doing some testing stuff, but I have ARC reviews for a certain series. I have ARC reviewers for a second series, and then I have my main list here at the bottom, and you can see the contacts. It gives you some click-through, open rates, things of that nature. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. You can create a new list very easily right here. And then you come in here and you can do emails. So when you're sending out a new email, you can create a new email. So the first time you're in here, you have to create a new email. Or they have this great feature. Can you go back to your dashboard? Yes. Go ahead. What's your question, Sierra? If you want to come off mute, it might be easier.
Oh, yeah. So what I get confused with is the total active subscribers. Why is it different than the total contacts?
Okay, so SendFox has this idea that if you're opening newsletters, you're an active subscriber. If you're not opening newsletters, they kind of downgrade you, even though you're still a contact. And so in their thing, they have the ability when you're sending out a new email to say, do you want to send this to just your active subscribers, or do you want to send it to your entire list? And that's the difference between the two of them. MailChimp does a very similar thing, and I think MailerLite does as well, is they give the subscriber a score based on how often they're opening the newsletter, how often they're clicking, things of that nature. And so that's the difference between those two things. Total contacts also includes unsubscribes as well. So that's why there's also a difference there. Did that answer your question, Sierra? Okay, great. Okay. So when you're creating your email, you'll, cool, I didn't know the difference. Yep. So that's why you'll see some number difference there. I don't think it's nefarious. It's just a way to help you understand how active your list is. So you can create a simple email just by clicking on the thing, and it looks just like, say, you're creating something in Gmail, MailChimp, whatnot. You say, who is it going to? You can click on it. You can see all my lists here. So if I click on my main list, it allows you to send it to the whole thing. And then Sierra here, you see on the side here, send to active subscribers only. So you want to unselect that if you want to send it to the whole list. Otherwise, it sends it just to those 14,000 people, 1,400 people. Hopefully that makes a little bit more sense. Gotcha. Good. Okay. And then when you get into the email here, you can go, hello, this is me, right? Then you can, once you're done, you can schedule and send. Oh, I have to do a subject line. Let's see, a test. Once you're done with composing your email, you can then schedule when you want that email to go out. And I highly suggest everybody to schedule their newsletter, especially since we're on the Pacific Standard Time. You want to make sure that people who are waking up early and taking the train into New York, when the corona's over, that they're getting that email at 5 in the morning, 4 in the morning, 3 in the morning. So then when they wake up, oh, there's a new short story for me to read. Great, I'll take that and I'll read that on the train. So you want to make sure you understand when you're sending your new newsletter to help you there. Otherwise, you can send it right now. So it's a very simple way to kind of schedule everything. You can import images. You can put buttons. You can do everything you want. Best thing to do is actually see, and then here on the bottom, have some great features. You can do an HTML editor if you're going to embed, like, say, a YouTube video or something like that. You can preview what your newsletter looks like on a desktop or mobile. It's a good way to look at that. Another thing too here, very absolute must, you need to send test emails before you're done. You can, add as many people as you want. I always add my wife on it, and I say, hey, read this. Tell me if there's anything dumb. Absolutely test everything. Test all the links. Test everything before you actually send it out. You will catch so many mistakes. It's unbelievable. If you have Grammarly installed in the Chrome, if you misspell a word, Grammarly will be there to help you. So if you want to catch your spelling, things of that nature. Let's see what else in here. I think that's about it. And so here, I'll show you what a newsletter looks like. So open rates, I'm getting in somewhere in the 30% range. So 1 in 3 people are opening my newsletter, which is good. I want to get it up higher. So I'll see that when I cull my list on people who are not opening my newsletter. I'll see that kind of come up. But here, I'll show you what an actual newsletter looks like. So I make a nice banner on BookBrush. So this is a book on Mars, kind of a zombie book on Mars that I made on BookBrush. I import the image. It's free for Amazon. Very important that your subject line is a very compelling thing. I tend to like to put time limits in my subject line. It's only for 48 hours. It really gets people to do something. If there's something important, especially if it's free, you want to make sure that's prominent in the subject so people can, come on in and do that. Here's a button. So get it now. Some text. Promote. I was promoting Tori's podcast in this email just as a friendly help. So I gave a little shout out there. I asked people to sign up for Goodreads. This is a little bit more content than I normally put in my newsletter, but I just had a couple things I wanted to get out of the way. I wanted to get people, following me on Goodreads so I can kind of, friend people there as well. And then you can see here are my promotions that I was in. So I was in a sci-fi fantasy September giveaway. And then I was also in kind of a paranormal urban fantasy thing. So if you click on that, the promotion has ended. So yeah, that was an older promotion. Let's see if I can get a newer one that maybe a promotion is still running. Brother's Keeper. Is that a recent one? Oh, sorry. 1 second. This one I just sent out a few weeks ago. Let's see if this one's still active. Here you go. Say, this is a book funnel promotion, still running. Looks like it hasn't closed out yet. And you can see all the various books in the grid. So you can do a box set. You can do standalone books. So it's a lot of urban fantasy. So a lot of ladies who have magical orbs coming out of their hands. Little fire, little fun things there. Nice dresses, and they look very brooding. Here's some animals and probably a shifter thing. I'm looking for some abs. So here you go. Love is in the Air is not going to get any subscribers. Why? Because we all know it. Bad cover. Okay. Decent covers here, really nice covers. And you can see my book's like at the freaking bottom. So that's sexy right there. Here's some more magic swords and happy orb fingers. And so you can see there's a lot of books here. So you go, oh, the Devils of Jersey. Ooh, that sounds scary. So I click on that. Great. I want to get that book. Sign up. Now I can get that free book. And you can see how easy it is for people to sign up. There are more magic fire hands. That's a very hot thing. So you can see me promoting that. And then I have at the end, I have all my catalog. And so you kind of see it's getting kind of clustered. It doesn't look very good. So I want to kind of change that coming up. Those are little things that I'm trying to tweak. So you can see that's kind of the thing. When I want to do a new newsletter, new newsletter, I would just clone. So I don't have to redo the thing. So if I wanted to clone this newsletter, there it is. I just cloned it. I'll change it to test. I have all these, I'll change all the links and all the images, and then I'll go ahead and hit save. And then you'll see that it is available here as test. So what I'll do here is just to save myself from embarrassing my list. I will delete that just in case I do something just absolutely atrocious while everybody's watching. So a very easy way to just kind of duplicate emails. It helps you save doing a lot of that work. So let's take a little bit before I get into automations. Let's do a little bit about BookFunnel. So here I am on BookFunnel's dashboard. I'm on their home area. What you can do is you come in here and you can create books. These are various giveaways. So here's my main page giveaway. This is where I get most of my subscribers. I haven't branched into doing another lead magnet yet. I'm going to be doing that soon. You upload the cover, you give a nice, write-up, you upload the EPUB and the Mobi file, and then you go ahead and create your opt-in. Hopping off. Thanks, Matt. All right, good luck, Sierra. definitely do the promotions if you get a chance. You do this you create the opt-in page, and it's great. You're done. And then when you want to get into a new promotion, you'll see here you got other media, landing pages, certified mail, things like that. You want to come down here in promotions. Once you've created your book, you look at all the promotions that are running. So here you go. I'll collapse this so we can see everything that's running right now. So action and adventure only has 2. So BookFunnel is not very good for that. Children's books have 6. You know, they have a couple promotions coming up. Maybe not great. Christian books, general fiction, mystery, suspense, nonfiction, romance has 215. So if you're doing romance, obviously something you should be looking at. Sci-fi fantasy is the second largest, I think. Yeah, second largest. And then they also have a young adult. So if anybody's writing young adult, I think Rachel, you do young adult, so you can definitely see here. They also segment, and I'll get to your question, Diana, by newsletter, Amazon sales pages, and I think there's a couple other options as well. But newsletters tend to be the ones we want to look at. So for example, if I'm here doing, sorry, one second, sci-fi fantasy, I'm looking at the genre. Looks like they did a new thing here where you have to, so you want to organize by when it starts. And so you'll just flip through the pages. Let's see. Here's an urban fantasy newsletter. Okay. Fantasy, urban fantasy. So I want to get into this. Fantastic urban fantasy. This is what I want. Click on it. It takes me to this promotional page. All I have to do is click join promo. Click which book I want in there. So I come all the way down to my main page giveaway. Populates all the information. When are you going to share it? You'll tell them when you're going to share it. I always say, thank you so much for running this promotion. You're a great human being. No, I'm not writing erotica. No, it doesn't have sexually suggestive covers. And then boom, I join the promo. And within typically 24 hours, this guy is going to respond and say, congratulations, you're in your promo. When you actually join a promo, you will, this little your promos page will show you all the promos you're in, and it will have little indicators on where you've promised to send out the newsletter. And it's a great way to remind yourself. So let's see. Anything else here that I can show you? But that's how you do the promos. You can set your integrations here, your sales page. So if you're going to do one of the sales page ones, you got to set up a sales page for that. I don't do those. I haven't heard a lot of good success from that yet. So that's something you may want to consider. Again, if you're doing a sales page one, and if you want to run a couple sales page things, Linda, that's another way you can see if people are clicking on links that people know is something they're going to have to spend money on. That's another way to filter people. And I'll go right back real quick. So let's say you have, let's say this last email that I sent out was something I was asking people to spend money on. And you can see my open rate was decently high, came down a little bit, but you can see my open rate came down from about 14, 15, my click rate went from about 16, 15% down to 7. So you do see, that's what Linda was talking about, the freebie thing. But when I click on this, I can go here and say, wow, okay, I got 110 clicks. I can export that information via CSV, and I'll find all the emails for everyone who clicked on my Amazon link to go look at my book. That means they were sort of interested in spending some money. Boom, I create a new list that says people who want to spend money list, and I'll put them in that list.
Matt?
Okay? Yeah, go ahead.
Where did you find that previous page?
Okay, so when I go to my email, you look at the stats, the opens, clicks. If you just click on the number, it's a hyperlink to this page.
Cool, thank you.
And it gives you all that information. You can export it as CSV, and then you take all the emails for the people who clicked on that link right there. You can also do that for all of these links as well. See, these are all the links at the bottom of my newsletter for all my other books. So those are people who want to click and see, you know, what are the reviews. What they're doing is they're sniffing out your social proof. How many reviews are on this book? I might spend some money with you. Well, those are people who are willing to open up the checkbook. So put them into a special list. That's another way to do that. All right, so Diana had a couple questions. When you do 2 or more lead magnets, do you alternate on your website the sign-up page, or do you create a new page for each series, or what? Okay, so on my lead page, I just focus on my urban fantasy. I don't try to segment there. You can, if you want. You'd have to figure out a nice way to do that, just visually. Do you want to have 2 banners? Do you want to have 2 banners that are side to side? That type of thing. You may also think about like, what are you going to be publishing in the next year or 2? Oh, I'm not going to be writing urban fantasy anymore. I'm going to be writing my, horror books. Then maybe you want to start promoting your horror book. You want to try to change that up. So do try to keep it into the genre that you're at, but I don't know of a good way to do that. You can promote multiple lead magnets and all these promotional things in your newsletter, but that may be a little bit more, I think you're trying to do more website stuff. You're doing both BookFunnel and Story Origin now, Matt, correct? Yes, I am. Can you give us an idea of what the clickage you get from each? Yes. Okay, so Story Origin. So here's Story Origin. Looks very similar to BookFunnel. You can kind of see the 2 here. They kind of look very similar. They give you kind of a landing page. You create your reader magnet right here, same way you do with the BookFunnel. And then you can get into your book, for the promos. That's creating ones. That's join one. So you want to find promos, current, upcoming. Anyway, you want to find the promos. I can't find where it is right now. I'm just kind of spacing. Go to past. Maybe I'm doing something wrong right now. There it is. So here's a couple that I was in. Let's see if they have is it still live? Yeah. So here was the giveaway. I joined it. Apply to a group promotion. That's the one that I already just did. I'll find a group promotion. Here we go. So thank you. It's a little kludgy. Their UI needs some improvement. But what's great about it is you look for the tags. So you come all the way down, see if you got an urban fantasy. Okay, great. So immediately filtered out all the urban fantasy things. And so you can see all the promos. This is a sales promo, Kindle Unlimited, giveaway, sales. And then what you could do is you can filter by type. Giveaway. Boom, there you go. So here are all the promos that do just giveaways. And then you can join it. So to go to the question about what are the clickage you're getting through, I get probably 1/10 the number of subscribers as I would for my BookFunnel promotion. So Story Origin is not getting me as many clicks or as many subscribers. I get probably 10 times as many subscribers from BookFunnel than I do from Story Origin. But what Story Origin does a really good job about, let's head back to the dashboard, is the, let's see, author dashboard, are the newsletter swaps. For you to be able to find a swap, a mailing list, and you search by, tags. Let's head on down here to urban fantasy. Boom, here you go. So that filters. Now you have all of these newsletters that you can subscribe to and check out. And there's even more. So you just keep hitting more and more. And what's great about here is they tell you how large the list is. What is their open rate? What is their click rate? So this girl has a really big newsletter, but I'm guaranteeing you're going to be one of like 50 books in her newsletter. So do be aware of that. Some of these smaller newsletters, these are good. These are all really good. So you have somebody who's a little bit smaller, that's fine. 760, that's really nice. So you can click on it. You can see when they have up and coming newsletters. So you can apply to go into a swap, and you can see all the newsletters that she's doing here coming on out. What is it, until March of next year. And then you can apply to it, and then they'll either accept or reject you. All right. So hopefully that shows you Story Origin. Very similar to what you can do with BookFunnel. I know there's people like Roland who are going, well, none of this matters to me. Here you go, general fiction. Or let's see, do you have nonfiction? So here you go, newsletters, New Year Advice, books by baby boomers, Roland, books for baby boomers, all genres giveaway, free nonfiction, true stories only. So these are great things that you can even put your Blaine books in if you want to build your newsletter. So not everybody, even this would even make Edward happy. So there's even a genre for Edward. So if there's a genre for Edward and Roland who write kind of nonfiction books, there's going to be something for you. So sci-fi, fantasy, romance, young adult, they're all here. So we had a question. I also like that you do direct downloads for ARC copies. Yes, correct. So let's talk about doing an ARC review. So now you've got your newsletter. You've planned out your newsletter content, and I'm already like way over on the length of the talk today. But anyway, this is exciting. I always like this stuff. So let's talk about this. So I come in and I want to do an ARC review, I want to do an early ARC review for one of my books. Okay. So I come in here and I'm on my newsletter. And let's see when I do this one. That's not one. That one's this one. Let's find it. No. Oh, limited early access to Necromancer Book 5 and much more. So I had 33%. So I had 600 people open that, 10 people clicked. That's okay. So here's the newsletter that went out. And had it again. I made a nice banner on BookBrush. If you're only sending out 2 newsletters a month or 1 a month, you get 3 downloads on BookBrush for free. There's absolutely no excuse that you don't have a nice banner image in your newsletter. It takes you a few minutes. You notice that mine are all the same design. So all I'm doing is replacing the book cover images. Boom, now I have another thing to download and put it in there. It's very compelling. It's very beautiful. It lets you stand apart from the rest. So Eyes in the Falls early access on BookFunnel. Click to get a copy. So what did that look like? So Eyes in the Falls. Here it is. So I created a new book in there ahead of my release on Amazon, maybe a month, maybe 6 weeks ahead of time. And you create a new giveaway. Now, this is the important thing. This is not a giveaway that you're trying to get subscribers on, right? You already have your subscribers. You're giving this to your list early, right? So what you're creating here is a non-opt-in giveaway, okay? It looks just like all your other giveaways, right? No difference, right? You can see visually it looks the same blurb, all this stuff is in there. Get my book, same process, send it to my newsletter, send me your email, blah, blah, blah. But you're not gathering emails on this. You're just giving them a free book. What was important about this, so you see, I had 11 people who claimed this. I capped the downloads to 50. Where is it? Does it have it in here? I limit the number of downloads I give out to people. So I said, only 50 people are going to get it. Here was it. Did I even put it in here? Okay, so you can create a little urgency. Be the first of 25 people to get my new free book, right? That type of urgency. Boom, people want to sign up. They'll get that free book. Great. Now that they've got that book, they're in your ARC team. So what you can do is once you have that, you can export the people who have subscribed to that book, the 11 people, and you can immediately put them into a new list, right? Here, Necro ARC reviews. Okay. So I've done a couple of these now. So the number of people who've wanted the books has grown. Okay. And then I have an email that I send out to just those people, where I called it, you're in the vault, Eyes in the Vault. So 73% click rate, but it only went to 59 people, right? So I give them some, I tell them they're awesome. Thanks for downloading the books. Hope you enjoy it. If you haven't gotten the earlier books, here's links to download those books and blah, blah, blah. So just kind of have fun with it. And then you can send them a follow-up. Say, hey, guys, the book's available on Amazon. If you liked the book, head on over and leave a review. Oh, by the way, if you also enjoyed the other books, here are links to go leave me a review on those books as well. So you can see how you're beginning to use your newsletter as that engine to get reviews, to go buy books, to go do fun things for you that help benefit you as an author, and also, allow them to feel like they're part of something special. Hopefully that answers. So I also like that you do direct downloads or copies. Yep. So I try to do that for every book, but the reason why I do that is because I want to have a newsletter that comes up more often. Why do I want to do that? Well, I can send out a free ARC review to people. That allows me to send out a newsletter. That also allows me to get into a couple promotions because I'm also promoting other books, right? So I'm building my newsletter and I'm having creative ways to contact my email list, right? Now you're always going to get unsubscribers. So like over here, I had 32 people unsubscribe. That's okay. That's not a problem. Don't be afraid of that. Those people didn't want to be there. Let them go. And don't stress out about people who are unsubscribing. You want that to happen because you don't want them to be wasting space on your newsletter. Okay. That's always going to happen. So don't stress out about that. Let's see. Any other questions? Hopefully I kind of think that over time, the newsletters is to help fans. Yeah, help select your super fans. I absolutely agree. Again, it's that just beyond friends and family. It's like that one step past that. A little bit more of an intimate experience. Now, if you're interested in SendFox, feel free to click on this link. The slides are already on the member site. Let's see, member. If you're interested in SendFox, even at the free and cheap level, you can click on the PDF here on the website, and it's already there for you. If you just click on that, it's an invite to sign up for those guys, and I get an extra 200 subscribers for the next 38 hours. So yeah, it's okay if you already have it. No stress. Just let you know that is available. So if you're interested, I don't think you have to do the paid one. They just want you to sign up. So I get an extra 200 contacts. If you're interested, there it is. Hopping off as well. Thanks, Matt. Fun to see all the details I've missed. Okay, no problem, Rachel. Thank you. So there we go. Does anybody have any other questions? 90 minutes. Sorry I went so long, but it gets exciting. Any other questions? Feel free to come off mute. We only have a couple people, so I haven't. Yeah, go ahead, Diana. Just hop off. Go ahead and ask. Hop off mute.
I'm now backtracking to your podcast thing from the other week. Oh. And so here's my question. I remember seeing your microphone or mics clipped to the library wall and all that. Yep. If somehow you were going to convert a closet in your guest house to an audio booth, what would you have then for your dream list? I guess a boom to hold your mic and a shelf for your computer and electrical sources. I'm just trying to think of what should be in there so I don't make a stupid mistake.
Yep. So on the webcam, I think I turned it on. So I definitely have the boom mic. So it's nice and stable. There's also this thing called a shock mount. I know it's hard to, I don't know, I have the stupid background on. Sorry. Choose background effects. Sorry, 1 second. Turn that crap off. Okay. There's a shock mount. It has like these little rubber bands that keeps it. So if there's any shaking or vibrating, it saves it. So that's like the one I have here does not have it. So you see how it's just clipped. But if you have a shock mount on your microphone, right here, it slides right in like this. If there's any vibration, it doesn't get picked up by the audio. So that's the only other thing other than a boom arm. So just the shock mount. Make sure you have the little fuzzy as well. And you want to do some blankets to deaden the walls around you. You can just kind of hang them, tack them to the wall type of thing. A non-squeaky chair. And I mean, that's just a minimum right there, right? And then you can run all the cords out of the room. You can, if you're going to have a laptop in the room, it's going to have noise because of the fan in the computer, and it's going to come across. And so that's something you may want to be concerned about. You can maybe put the fan behind a blanket or something like that. That's another way to go, but there will be fan noise, so that's a concern. Yeah, a squeaky chair is a big problem because any type of little movement like this, you may not hear it, but it'll come across. Oh, also with the boom arms, if you have the solid arm here, like where it's locked on, right here, if you click this, you guys may hear this. You'll hear the vibration. So any type of bumping this, you get kind of a vibration that comes right through the audio. You see it there's like a ringing. So there's a little bit of concern there. I'm trying to think what else. That's probably what, just to start with. Yeah, I'll turn the webcam off now. But that's where I would start as kind of a dream. Yeah. Any other questions about newsletters? Is everybody sufficiently terrified of newsletters? Any other? I can always do a workshop and walk people through more detail on what to do. Let's see. Tony, please. All right. Maybe we can schedule something like that. Maybe what I can do is when I'm doing my next newsletter, I'll record a video while I'm doing it, and you can just see the process that I go through when I'm setting it up and I'm putting it all together. Really, the thing is with the newsletter. Oh, here we'll do a little bit of automation stuff. Let's see, for an hour and a half. I'll try to do it quick. So say you're going to do an automation here in SendFox. What you'll do is you'll create a list for it. You'll call it whatever your giveaway is. Like say it's my Necro book. So you'll create a book. You create a list here. We'll say Necromantia book. You want to also make sure that you're segmenting. If you're going to get into this type of wonkiness, you'll want to segment where the books are coming from. Necromantia book funnel autoresponder. Okay. Create list. Very simple. You see Necromantia book funnel autoresponder. Then you'll come in here in automations. You'll say create an automation series. And then you go here. It asks you, where do you want to put those people? Well, great. Necromantia book funnel autoresponder. Say okay. That means you're taking the autoresponder and you're directly connecting it to a list. That's all that's happening. So any email that comes into this list, gets run through this automation. So a trigger, the first thing that's going to happen is added to this list. Great. And I want to send an email. It's the first thing. So there, boom, you do email 1. So you make a whole email and you hit save. So once you've built that email and it looks beautiful to you, you go ahead and you come back here and there you go. So you have that first email generated. Then you have here is called a trigger. So when do you want to send the next one? Well, when the last email is sent or opened or whatever, you want them to do something. And you want to see what that delay is. So here's delay 24 hours before the next email is before the email trigger happens. So something's triggered. So an email comes in. Do you want to wait a day and to send this email 1, or do you want to say, hey, delay an hour, right? Delay 1 hour. Okay. And then I want to send another email. So this is email 2. Okay. Save. And you build a nice, beautiful email. So there you go. Now I have email 2 set up. Okay. I want the delay between these 2 emails to be 5 days. Right. So what is 5 days? Well, let's do, 72 hours, 3 days. So between this email and this email, it'll be delayed 3 days. Create another email. So email 3, hit save, go back to the automation, make that delay also 72 hours. So now I have a 3 email autoresponder. And at the very, very, very end, if they get all the way through here, okay, when this thing happens here, trigger, when the last email is sent, no. We want to say when the last email is opened. Why? Because if the person doesn't open that last email, they're probably not wanting any more emails from me. Okay. You can even be as granular as if they click on something. So if they opened it, send them to my main list. Boom. So what's going to happen is they're going through the conveyor belt. They got sent the first email. They get sent the second email. They get sent the third email. And when that's finally done, take that email and dump it into my main list. Okay. Now all that stuff is all automated. It's all done. Now in BookFunnel, what you'll do is you'll say, create a new giveaway. And you'll point that giveaway to this list. So anytime somebody signs up to that list, they get put through this autoresponder. And so that's as easy as making an autoresponder is. And then when you create an autoresponder, always, 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 always put yourself first. So you want to experience the autoresponder before anybody else does. So you can catch any errors. You can see what it feels like, that type of thing. So, all right. Always good stuff. All right. So here we go. Then you can stop the autoresponder anytime, and you can say delete, and you can get rid of it. So there you go. Hopefully that was answered question. So you can also start with a template. They try to, they can make it look like your website type of thing. So, all right. Hour and 40 minutes. I'm sorry, guys. Any other questions? Issues, comments? This should get you guys going. Please, please, please consider doing this. Starting your newsletter. All right.
This was great, Matt. Thank you.
All right, good. I'm glad it was helpful for you. All right. Tony's brain's full. Good. What I'll do is maybe I'll put together a walkthrough next time I do a newsletter and just kind of post that for everybody. Roland. Overwhelming as always. Yep. Sorry. Remember, I'm an email away for everybody. So